FPCI public discussion with the title of Mid-Year Geopolitical and Economic Outlook 2026. I hope you're all doing well and in great spirits today. My name is Aure and I will be your MC. And firstly, I would like to welcome our distinguished guest, the founder and chairman of FPCI, Dr. Dino Patijalal, our speakers and moderator, Professor Dewi Fortuna Anwar, co-founder of FPCI, research professor at the Research Center for Politics of the National Innovation Agency, Bapak Jayadi Hanan, Executive Director of Lembaga Survei Indonesia, Bapak Fadil Hasan, Senior Economist at Institute for Development of Economics and Finance or INDEF, and also Calvin Ko, Executive Secretary of FPCI and Director at FPCI Research and Analysis, and also all of the ambassadors and chargé affairs, as well as representatives from diplomatic corps, corporations, think tanks, universities, lecturers, and students. Welcome to the FPCI Secretariat. It is a pleasure to have you all with us today. Before we begin, we would like to show you the FPCI profile video introducing who we are and what we do. Please enjoy. I hope all of you enjoyed the video. Ladies and gentlemen, as we reach the midpoint of 2026, the geopolitical and economic landscape is marked by heightened turbulence. We can see it through the escalating US-Iran war, the shifting tariffs and intensifying US-China rivalry, the declining global economy, and much more. Therefore, in today's public discussion, we will discuss the key trends shaping the global landscape in the first half of the year and assess their implications for Indonesia's foreign policy and economic priorities, reflecting on the strategic choices that Indonesia faces in the remainder of the year. Before we jump into the discussion, I would like to welcome the founder and chairman of FPCI, Dr. Dino Patijalal, to give an opening remark. Please, Pak Dino.
Good morning, everybody. There was a time that I thought world politics is so boring. This is several years ago. You remember that? We were talking about globalization and all these issues, and I thought couldn't be more exciting. But now I regret thinking that. Right? Now the world is really making us nervous. The reality is now geopolitics is king, yeah, and I think it's quite obvious. No matter what region you live in, I was just in Europe recently. I was attending a GlobeSec in Prague and then in Berlin. But you can feel the Europeans really nervous and insecure about their region. There's a war in Europe, and there's almost a siege mentality, and their thinking is about how do we maintain security, yeah, hard security in the years ahead. And I was wondering, I kept asking them, look, how do you do that? Of course, that's what you need to do, but at the same time, you address the larger problems of development, which is still a big issue for the majority of world countries. But definitely, geopolitics is king, and in my view, countries like Indonesia, who adopt strategic autonomy and independent and active foreign policy, we're in a good place, right? We're not tied or allied to anybody, and we are free to create space as we wish. And especially we are in the neighborhood, Southeast Asia, which is a bit different than in Europe, which, as I said, they are so preoccupied with security issues. Armaments is up. Germany is going for 5% of military spending, part of the 5% of GDP, and so on. We're a bit more relaxed. The security challenges here is less severe than in the Middle East or Europe. So I do see a lot of opportunities for our foreign policy, and the fact that not only that we have strategic autonomy, but the fact that we are a middle power, that makes it even more interesting, right? I do think that we live in a middle power moment. Countries like Indonesia, Korea, Turkey, Australia, countries that have the economic, military, political, diplomatic, and technological capacity that can punch above weight and can shape in some ways within their own means the regional and international order. These are the middle powers that I think which will make a difference in shaping the next world order, and that includes Indonesia. So today we're going to have a discussion on geopolitics. Dr. Dewi, our top foreign policy thinker of the country, will share her views, and then we'll have our expert view on the political impact on Indonesia, and as well as the economic impact on Indonesia. I'm not going to give a speech or a long speech, but just very quick ideas or suggestions on Indonesian foreign policy. First is, we need to think about what we want to achieve. If you play football, there's a lot of gocek tu apa ya, dribbling the ball all over the place, but you're not scoring. You're not heading to that goal, right? If you ask what is the government trying to achieve by 2029, you're gonna get you're not gonna get a solid answer, right? We have gone through a period of dismantling our assets in the last 18 months. Bali Democracy Forum, which is the best asset we have in terms of architecture of the region. We are the only intergovernmental forum in Indo-Pacific which addresses democracy issues, which include different political systems. That's gone. That's dismantled. The 70-year of Asia-Africa Bandung Conference, which is our biggest diplomatic foreign policy identity, that was canceled last year. The AOIP, which is President Jokowi's biggest diplomatic doctrine, that has become ASEAN doctrine, which took a lot of efforts to achieve, that's in limbo, right? And again, Indonesia's commitment in ASEAN has been questioned by our own ASEAN neighbors, right? So a lot of these assets, and foreign policy is based on assets, have been neglected. And it's fine if you neglect assets as long as you have new assets to replace them, right? But if you ask what are the new assets, there's no answer to that. Yeah, so that's one. Secondly, follow up. Every time I talk to ambassadors, they say, "Hey, we signed this. Our president came here and they signed this, and your president went there, they signed this. Oh my God, things are so good. Yes, things are so good on that day, right? There is a problem of follow up, right? At the foreign ministry level and ambassadorial level and diplomatic level, there's a frustration that so many of the agreements that we have are not followed up, right? I don't know where the problem is, but there is a serious issue of foreign policy management. We have warned this at the FPCI since the first month of the administration, and we haven't seen any sign that this is being fixed. Yeah, so follow up, is very critical. And finally, the third one, the government needs to understand one thing they cannot control, but have to please. You know, uh, I say this about my wife, yeah. So I have to please her all the time, but she's never happy. And uh, the market, right? The market is a beast of its own, right? You can't tell the market what to do, right? The market does not submit to you, but you got to do things that will reinforce confidence of the market in your economic decision making, right? In the health of your economic system. I don't think we get that because we do so many policies that make the markets even more nervous rather than more confident, right? So I think if we do these things, we need to figure out some sense of direction uh, as opposed to a diplomacy that is everywhere but nowhere, right? And secondly, follow up on the agreements that we have reached. Uh, I don't mind having only 10 agreements that are fully implemented than 100 agreements that are never implemented. Yeah. And thirdly, beware of the market. Yeah. You cannot play this anti-foreign sentiments tune. You cannot. It is very contradictory to say we are anti-world, anti-foreigners, and so on, and yet you can't survive if the world doesn't believe in you, if the market doesn't believe in you. Right? So those three thoughts that I have. Again, thank you for coming. And by the way, our annual conference, the largest foreign policy conference in the world, we say that proudly, is at the end of November 27th, 21st, and this is going to be the most interesting CIFP, given the fact that so much public attention now is on foreign policy. I think you will attest, Pak Cornelius, that have never seen so much attention, public attention on foreign policy, right? So it's going to be very interesting this year. I look forward to seeing you all there, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Pak Dino. Now let's officially begin our discussion. I am pleased to welcome the speakers and today's moderator, Calvin Ko, Executive Secretary of FPCI and Director at FPCI Research and Analysis, to the stage. Please, Calvin, you may have the floor.
So, a very good afternoon, everyone. And this is a very interesting session. We only have 1 hour ish, so I do not want to waste much time. So, I would like to directly welcome all the panelists to the stage. Please give a big hand to Professor Dewi Fortuna Anwar, FPCI co-founder and research professor at BRIN, Bapak Jayadi Hanan, Direktur Eksekutif Lembaga Survei Indonesia, and Bapak Fadil Hasan, senior economist at Institute for Development of Economic and Finance, or INDEF. Welcome, Bapak and Ibu. Here at FPCI, we identify around 5 trends about the landscape. We see the declining of trust towards the global institutions, the geopolitical risk escalating, all the regions. Ambassador Dino like to use the term, we are at the world wars, with plural, right? Wars. And the climate and environmental risks are intensifying, and the global agenda on development is sidelined. So FPCI also thinking that we need to advocate to recentering global development agenda in the global debate, and also global economy is slowing down. Now, of course, foreign policy has three levels, not only systematic, regional, but also at home. Foreign policy begins at home, so that's why we have featuring on the stage Pak Jayadi focuses on political, national political landscape, and also about the economic situations of Indonesia. I would like to start with Ibu Dewi. Ibu, you have 5 minutes to give us your reading on the geopolitical landscape and where we are heading, and what are trends that we need to put an eye on. Ibu.
Thank you very much, Calvin, and welcome everyone. I'm a bit nervous to see all of so many ambassadors and diplomats whose bread and butter, life is analyzing this. And Dino, thank you very much for that very short and pointed remarks. I don't know whether Fadil is a bit nervous coming here now. Apparently, we are hot potatoes, so we have to be careful. But we know about this, the part that international law has been violated with, it seems to be with impunity, that, the Thucydides adage that the strong will do what they can and the weak will suffer what they must. There seems to be the narrative that multilateralism is more or less dead and so on. But I would like to take a different angle. I like to give a bit of cautious optimism. So we know that Russia invaded Ukraine. So what do you say? The major power just does what it wants. The US invaded Iran. But what do they tell you? From Russia is still there in Ukraine, several years on. It has not been able to subdue this little country. And what does the recent happening between the US and Iran? It tells you about President Trump's hubris, and the limit of American power. That this little country that Trump said, is totally defeated. All the weapons have been destroyed. Its economy is collapsing. Society is all fighting against the regime. But what did it tell you? What are they doing in Geneva? Why does a winning country need to negotiate with a losing country? So what does it tell you? It tells you that it is not always the case that the strong will do what it can and the weak must suffer what it must. That there is agency, there is resilience in the smaller entities also. That when a country, no matter how small, is under attack, it will fight. And we don't need to go to listen to look at only what happened now. Just go back at histories. Aggressors don't usually fare well in history. That's happened to Napoleon. That's happened to Hitler. That happens to the Soviet in Afghanistan. That happens to the US in Vietnam. And we are repeating the same thing for your hubris. And as I say, the limit of great power is being shown to us very starkly. So do not look at the world as now simply that, this is going to be Darwinism, the law of the jungle completely, that the meek will only just have to suffer. They won't, because they will still continue to have agency. That's one thing. And secondly, geography matters. What have we learned from the Iranian conflict? Choke points can be weaponized. We have tended to look at geography simply as something that, is there, that we can just take it for granted, that the humans will behave whatever they want there, but the geography will just be there, that straits and choke points are neutral. But what we have seen is that can be weaponized. This is not something that we should celebrate because it is very dangerous, but that, when there are conflicts, we need to be very careful. And here, Indonesia, I don't want Indonesia to weaponize its archipelagic sea lanes, but, be warned that it can. And so this is, the one of the issues. And that commodities can be weaponized. energy is the most important commodity now. Food is a very important, weapon. So this we have learned that weapons are not just guided missiles. Weapons can be geography, it can be commodities. And I think that this shapes the global order or the global disorder, that it is not simply, a black and white. The weapon of the strong will continue to be dominant against the weaker countries, because there are multiple fronts in which conflicts can be fought, and that the outcome is not always certain. That who started the conflict will not necessarily become the victor, and in fact, history has shown that that's not been always the case. Now, what is the implications? That clearly now, just like what COVID told us, that the vulnerability of overdependence is being shown again very clearly. Here, during COVID, it was supply chains, just because if you're too dependent on one supply, like for China, we can suffer. Or if you're over-dependent on the supply of grains from Russia or Ukraine, because of that conflict, you can also suffer vulnerability. And now if you're over-dependent on the Middle East oil and petrochemicals and so on, we can all be vulnerable. So it tells us even more that we need to spread our risk, to diversify our energy supplies and so on. And it also tells us that, besides diversifications of energy supplies, this gives greater impetus for green energy transition. So at a time when the US is walking away from energy transition, and this is not just about climate change, it tells us that the countries that are going to do well are countries that have diversified their energy supplies, whether it's from fossil fuels, whether it's from coal, from hydropower and so on. So that is, the global implication. So this also leads to international cooperation, because in these areas, on the one hand, we see more fragmentation on supplies, because countries need to be, to diversify. But at the same time, I think it also calls for greater cooperation, because at the end of the day, we might not idealize globalization, that we are not naive anymore about globalization, but I still see that, the importance of international cooperation remains there. So this calls for the walking away from international cooperation, I think is not really the most convincing argument. That you cannot be over-dependent on one supplier, but it doesn't mean that you need less cooperation. And what is the significance for Indonesia? What is the impact? So clearly, again, this diversification. That we need to deepen our cooperation while at the same time building our own resilience. So it's cooperation to build resilience, and that has always been the Indonesian narrative, right? So national resilience, not through autarky, and that is a fallacy. No country can survive on its own. We do need international trade. Countries that engage in international trade, international cooperation, do develop faster than countries that close themselves to the world. But again, at the same time, because of this vulnerability of supply chains, or whether it's because of pandemic, whether it is because of natural disasters or conflicts, then it means that you have to be able to spread your risk widely. So for Indonesia, I think we are in the right directions. Dino has criticized about our dribbling all over the place, but when it comes to economic cooperation, I think that they are solid. Yeah, we have free trade agreement, CEPA, and so on. So that needs to be follow up. This is different from the 120 MOUs that you mentioned. So Mas Fadil will talk more about the economy later on. But so I think Indonesia is probably in a better place because we have rich natural resources and we have spread our risk. We have not become too dependent, including our exposure to the Middle East oil. The second question that Calvin you has asked is Indonesia's participation in the Board of Peace on Gaza undermining Indonesia's independent and active foreign policy? the signaling, the optic seems to show that Indonesia is now entering further into the US camp. Yeah, because it is the BOP is seen to be more of a Trump design. And although now not much has been discussed because of the Iranian conflict, but that is the reason why the majority of Indonesian public is very opposed to it. You know, there were this poll that was carried out. The Jakarta Post mentioned, you know, most Indonesian oppose Indonesia's membership in the BOP, over 50%. And the reason is firstly because it is not considered to be a truly UN Security Council Board of Peace that is, undersigned by the UNSC, but it is much more tied to President Trump as a person. In fact, it's supposed to go beyond his presidency, and that it doesn't really talk about Palestinian independence. So and even more importantly, none of the other P5 members or any of the US Western allies have agreed to support the BOP. So this is seen to be an Indonesian attempt to appease President Trump in order to get something else from him. Maybe that was before the ASEAN agreement on the reciprocal trade, hoping that that Indonesia would get a better deals. But unfortunately, it didn't happen either. Yeah, we'll talk about the fact that the reciprocal trade were 200 phrase say Indonesia shall, and only 9 phrase that said the US shall, very asymmetrical. And the Article 5.1, it really undermines Indonesia's foreign policy, a free and active foreign policy. So yeah, the optic seems to be we are appeasing the US. But earlier, I mentioned, we also appeased China on the joint statement on the so-called overlapping claims in the maritime areas, which we don't have. So I'm writing about this. What do you call it in international relation theory when you try to bandwagon with both sides? I don't know. We can have discussions with that later. Great power accommodation, both sides. So Dino, how does it? How is our free and active foreign policy faring? I think we are much more performative than substantive. Finally, as the major power competition continue to erode multilateral institutions and the rules-based international order, what role can Indonesia play in advocating for a more inclusive and stable global governance architecture? Indonesia can do a lot. Indonesia has so many different platforms. We can't do it on our own, but we have ASEAN, we have we are a member of the G20, we are a member of MICTA, we are the precursor of the Global South movement, the Asian African Conference. We have so many other platforms, so many platforms. You are a member of the OIC. The question is whether we are interested in doing anything that is of substance. Now, do we have any intellectual inputs into that? In the past, Indonesia's power was in the richness of its ideas. Indonesia doesn't have much material power, but we were always very advanced in our ideas. The Asian African Conference, within ASEAN, the ASEAN Outlook on Indo-Pacific, and within the Bali Democracy Forum, a very more inclusive approach toward democracy. So that is the power of ideas, and that is missing at the moment. So we are everywhere physically, but intellectually, I think we are not present. So can Indonesia do it? Yes. Will Indonesia do it? If Indonesia wants to do it, yeah, because President Prabowo is one of the most well-read individuals. He is very well-read. I know him. He knows the geopolitics. He understands geoeconomics and so on. But if he's focused enough, and then empowers the foreign ministry, put someone in charge there who can think, and who is able to have who has the gravitas to convey all of these ideas. As Indonesia as a norm entrepreneur, then we have the capacity in the foreign ministry and outside of it. We have always had a very good linkage between governments and foreign ministry with think tanks. We are all we're all willing to help. So we are capable. The problem is whether we have the political will to do it. Thank you.
Thank you, Budewi. Very comprehensive, and I would like to pull two questions after this related to cooperations and also about our relationship with the U.S. and China. But of course, after understanding the reading about the regions, there's implications toward the domestic situations. I think I would like to directly ask one questions to directly to both of you, Pak Jayadi and also Pak Fadil. Pak Jayadi, in the past 18 months of the presidency of Prabowo, he managed to create a huge government. Many, I can imagine. I see pictures of cabinet meetings. It's like a full of room, very packed, and it's a huge, very minimal oppositions, almost no oppositions, but two big demonstrations happened. Right, August, and currently I think this week can be count huge demonstration happen. Why is that? What's your thinking, and how do you read that Prabowo runs the government with this? And the election is still far away, 2029, but many reads that the political party already jumpstart their engine because the law of the elections is currently undergoing at the parliament also. That's also would be another hot potatoes to discuss. But can you tell us and walk us through in the past 18 months what you read and what you see in the next 6 months, how we watch out? And Pak Fadil, what you think the government has said about the growth? The fundamentals are okay, but we know that the growth is state-led growth. It's by a state budget push the economic growth, but it's not a market that, and we are currently experiencing a market capital outflow and weakening rupiah. How that's correlate, and again, walk us through in the past 6 months, and how do you see in the next 6 months? Pak Jayadi, please.
Thank you, moderator, Kevin. Thank you, Bang Dino, Bu Dewi, for inviting me again. I don't remember, is it the 4th time or the 5th time I'm invited to this kind of forum, and also your biggest one in Kokas, right? As Pak Dino and Bu Dewi are on the rise, together with the rise of international relations and foreign policy issues, we comparative politics, domestic politics expert are sidelined. You know, you will see Pak Dino on TV all the time, not me anymore. Okay. The direct answer to Kevin's question, I guess, is the direct and the simplest answer is economic conditions and policy. Part of them is governance. But I will talk in about 4 or 5 points, as you want me to walk through the domestic political issues or domestic related political issues in our country. The job, the assignment to connect the dot between the international trend with domestic trend will be your job, not mine, right? Okay, so the first point I would like to touch upon is the one that has been raised by moderator Kevin about political consolidation, right? We know that formal political consolidation is still there. The strength of the coalition is unprecedented, right? I don't find any multi-party presidential coalition in the world that has the strength of Indonesian multi-party presidential coalition. I call it not oversized anymore. I call it super-size coalition. Yeah, you see, oversized is between 60 to 70. Yeah, the first Susilo Bambang Yunus SBY's presidency was supported by oversized coalitions because the strength was around 60 to 70, right? But now it is 81, 82%. If you count PDIP as the opposition,
But as they mentioned, they are not opposition, right? They are the balancer, right? So they will dance between the two. So officially, we don't have any opposition. Therefore, officially, in formal politics, we don't have uh, any check to the administration or to the executive. And when we are talking now about the administration, you can simplify it into one agency only, the dominance of the presidency, the executive. Therefore, some people in the US call this kind of role of the executive as the imperial presidency, right? What does the imperial the imperial power do? Right? They do as they using your Thucydides. How do you call it? Thucydide? Yeah, that's a Greek. The president can do what they can, will do what they can, and the the weak will do what will suffer what they must. The weak, you know who are the weak now, right? One of the weeks they are trying to fight very forcefully is the civil society groups, including, if I may, Pak Dinos, yeah, group. Some of you, I think, are yeah, some in a way happy with Pak Dino, I think, right? With his last viral, yeah, speak truth to power, wisdom without fears, right? Okay. Although I was doubting you a little bit, Pak Dino, when you were invited to the palace, they're talking about the board of peace, right? I was, oh, is he changing? Then I tried at the time to analyze what is his interest and so on and so forth. Now I trust you again. It is not easy to regain the trust, right? Rather than building the trust is better, much easier than regaining the trust, right? Okay, so big coalition, very weak opposition. So in terms of political condition, I think the outlook for the next 6 months will be the same. So this coalition will stay the same. Nobody. This coalition, of course, as you can guess, is fragile actually. But the fragility of the coalition will be salient depending on the development of the situation. Particularly in a usual time, it is going to be much more heated if the election is approaching. But now I think there are something else that can be a break to this fragile coalition, depending on, again, the situation. Because all of these members of coalition, the political parties, yeah, 7 of them, so far are not yet in the interest of breaking away from the coalition because of so many reasons. Consolidation of their own political parties, you know, their chairmans are members of the cabinet, carrot and stick approach by the executive, and so on and so forth. You know what I mean by carrot and stick, right? If you follow Jokowi's second term, you know what it is. And this one is, as the campaign has mentioned, right? This is the continuation, including that carrot and stick thing. Okay, that's number one. So no political pressure, no meaningful political pressure coming out from the elites, at least the formal elites. That is my point, my first point. But second point, the political pressure can comes from the second one, which is social pressure. That's what you see in August 2025, and then now. Why this social pressure comes out? Because of Pak Fadil's, because of the economy. And the economy is related to the policies. I let Pak Fadil to talk about economy in general, but based on my expertise, I have seen the data from January 2025 all the way to June 2026. The public evaluation on the on the economic condition is getting worse. just to be safe, I would say economic condition. Uh, when I'm talking about economic condition, it is not only about inflation. Inflation is still very low, right? Yeah, although it's been double compared to August. In August, it was around 2 point something. Now is around 3.7 or something like that. So it is double. So inflation is also picking up the issue. But I think what I mean by economic condition is how the public perceive the real condition related to them. Yeah, whether they have purchasing power and so on and so forth. Particularly in the cities, particularly in well-educated, highly educated people, the so-called middle class who are now downgrading their own class. I think since from 2019 to 2024, around 9.6 million people from middle class are going down in terms of their class, and then now I think the middle class has been shrinking from around 22% in 2019, now becomes only around 16.6%. So when middle class in the cities, highly educated, are angry, that's can be one of the biggest source of social pressure, and social pressure then will be transferred into political pressure, as you can see from 2025 August and probably now, right? So macroeconomic condition will be the issue. Second thing is about the policy. You know what I mean. One is MBG. Are you the foreign MBG free meal program? Yeah. This program, there are three programs, three priorities of the program priorities of President Prabowo that are very resonated with the public. They like it. They support it. Therefore, they expect so much from those policies. When the expectation cannot meet the high, when the expectation is very high, but the delivery is very bad, you know what happened, right? Very high disappointment. That's what is happening now, as you can see. Therefore, students like our friends out there, yeah, they are going down the street, like what we have seen. I think until today there are still some social protests. So this program is very widely known. Three programs. Number one is free meal program. Two is the cooperative, the national cooperative, red and white cooperative. And number three, not very much discussed anymore, about housing for the poor. 3 million housing for the poor. It's very, very widely known by the public, and they expect so much from that. But so far, they don't see the delivery. That is in a simple term to say the least. Yeah, it is not in a good delivery. So this the implementation of these three programs or policies, if they are not fixed in the next 6 months, then there will be a source of social pressure again. And again, the source of the social pressure can be transferred. This social pressure can be transferred into the political pressure. And outside of the room, we discussed with Budewi. In Jokowi's second term, the civil society groups, including the elites, are not so united, right? But now there is no opposition outside of the social opposition, outside of the public opposition. And because the military is coming up again in terms of enlarging their role, then the opposition from the public, coupled with the problems of economy and policies, then those are the source of the unification of many civil society groups, including the civil society elites. That can be an engine for opposition to the government. Uh, if that happens, then I think the members of the opposition will think about what is the benefit and the cost for them if they still ignore this social pressure from the group. If that happens, if this economy is not fixed, the policies are also not fixed, I think you will see some more social pressure in the next 6 months. But so far, we'll see. Yeah, that's the third point I would like to make. Uh, just one more point with a lot of sub points. No. The other thing that I think not discussed so much by the public. Are you familiar with the so-called local transfer fund? That is the fund from the central government distributed to local governments, both provincial level and also regency and municipal level, and the village. There are two aspects of it. Okay, you know, I think I just want to remind you that 60 to 80% of local government annual budget is depending on this local transfer fund. 60 to 80%. 60 to 70% of local budgets in the local administrations is used to fund the number one, the daily operations of the government, yeah, for the salaries of the civil servants, you know, and so on and so forth. Number two, for basic services, schools, healthcare, road maintenance, infrastructure maintenance, and so on and so forth. Now, this local transfer fund has been cut for about more than 25% in 2026 in comparison with the fund, local transfer fund in 2025. From 920 trillion Indonesian rupiah in 2025 now becomes only around 663 trillion. So the cut is about 25%. If we average the cut all over Indonesia, that means every local government will be cut in terms of their annual budget for about 25 to 30%. You see, this can be a ticking bomb, a ticking time bomb. And the central government can approach local government with stick and carrot. But how could you do the stick and carrot if every local government experience the same problems, right? So that is the issue, Pak Fadil, that you need to tackle. Because I know you are listened so much by the government. So you see the point, right? That's I think prolegnas. How do you say in English prolegnas? National legislation plan, yeah, something like that. It is there, but the president said no. That's what I heard. But you know, I think heard it as well. Yeah. And I trust the information. So it will be started next year. Now you see, if these issues, both policies issues, economic condition issues, and central and local government issues in terms of the fiscal issues are not addressed in the coming 6 months, then that will be an issue that can be that issue could be not weaponized, politicized, right? But it can be weaponized as well, right? You know what I mean by weaponized? The military comes in. I don't know how they assess the situation, but that is one possibility. Okay, last point. Related to one of Indonesian biggest asset according to Pak Dino, democracy. So Freedom House, Economist Intelligence Unit, and Varieties of Democracy indexes, 3 indexes, I think are the most reliable indexes to see in bird's eye view to see Indonesian democracy. Varieties of Democracy has put Indonesia in 26 as the electoral autocracy. But the Freedom House and Economist Intelligence Unit still put Indonesia as a flawed democracy or partly free country or democracy. So you see the weakening of the quality of Indonesian democracy. So one of the reason is but beside the governance and executive dominance, one of the other reason is the role of the military. As you can, I think it's been discussed everywhere, right? About the role of military that is enlarged from the day to day. Not only in the real military realm, but mostly also in the civilian realms, including the programs like the priority programs like free meal program and so on and so forth, right? This is, to make it simple, opposed by at least two groups. Is this media is it open to media?
It's open to public.
Okay. All right. But you can get. We can. I guess. Yeah. I guess. I think. This is opposed by at least two groups. Number one, the police. Right. You know, when the military is enlarging its role everywhere, particularly in the business-related areas, then you know the police will be envy, right? So even and it will be even more problematic if the role of the military is viewed by others to be coming to the situation where the police will be subordinate again to the military, for instance. So therefore, I think President Prabowo and the military needs to take a cautious approach to cautious analysis on their their steps, their programs, whatever, to enlarge the role of the military, I think. And you know, Indonesian civil society, Indonesian democracy situation has been much different from before 1998, right? I optimistically, Budewi, I would like to say that at least from the perspective of civil society, Indonesian democracy is not too big to fail. At least. This is a very optimistic assessment. Too big to fail. Therefore, if there is something that is really attacking the fundamentals of our democracy, for instance, the election of the president, for instance, right? The election of the parliament. Yeah. Local election may be still negotiable, debatable, but I think if these two, the election of the presidents, the 2 terms limit for the presidency, and the elections of the reg elections of the parliament, if this will be taken back, then I think a lot of civil society groups will be fighting against it.
We will
so,
return back to you.
Yeah, the first one is the police. The second one is the civilian. Thank you.
Okay. Now, Pak Fadil, walk us through on the economy, please.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I would like to thank FPCI for inviting me in this very important event. But yes, Ibu Dewi, indeed, I am quite nervous before all these excellencies and distinguished and gentlemen, because one of my feet is in the government to some extent. I'm a member of National Energy Council, but also another feet is I'm an economist who try to be independent and objective. So I'm trying to be very cautious what I'm gonna say. Yeah, not creating problem for myself, especially with Pak Dino is here. Okay, so I think what we face in the economy right now is the credibility problems, credibility of policies problems, and then to make this economy better in the second semester of 2026, that we have to restore, to rebuild that credibilities, And then why I said that, because as you know that the depreciating or weakening of rupiah, and then the capital outflow that happened in the capital market and the financial market is basically caused by the concern of the market and the investors on two policies, which is the fiscal policies and also the monetary policies. Now, the government said, well, the fundamental is still good. We still had a growth of 5.6 in the first quarter of 2026. Inflation is under control, which is true, I think. But usually there is a lag time between what happened in the financial market, indicated by the weakening of rupiah, and then the capital outflow, and then what happened in the real sectors, in the economy itself, So now we can see that actually people started to complain about the increase in the prices, the inflation, and then also, for example, the price of many products, tempe, tahu, because all of them are imported from the US, from the Argentina, from Brazil. And then many other products also, which is impacted this ordinary people. Not the main street by the wall, not the Wall Street, but the main street. That's what happened, I think, in the let's say 2 months in the future. So the economy will be impacted because of what happened right now in the financial market, So, and one of the main concern that we have, or the market has, is with respect to the fiscal sustainabilities, right? Last year, we had almost 3% of the budget deficit, right? Precisely, it's around 2.92%. And then the threshold for the SIF budget deficit is around 3%. So then, as you know, that this year there are many populist programs. Pak Jayadi already mentioned free nutritious meal program, the red-white cooperative, the 3 million housing program, and also the establishment of the state-led sovereign wealth fund dan antara. All of these need a lot of money, right? A lot of fund that come from this government. That's not one thing. Another thing is that because of what happened in the war between the US and then the Iran, which then causing the price of the oil and gas increase, and has impacted also the subsidy and then compensation in Indonesia, right? So the budget for the subsidy and compensation in the current budget is around 381 trillion rupiah, and then, as you know, the price of the oil now increased by around 100. Now it's already declining again. But let's say if the average price of the oil internationally at around $92 per barrel, then also there is a weakening of rupiah overall about my own estimate is 16,800. Then we need additional subsidy and compensation of around 200 trillion rupiah. So the total of the subsidy and compensation program of this year, assuming that what I call it, the rupiah, and then also the price of the oil, as I said before, this around 577 trillion rupiah, you know. So coupled with the increase in the spending, so the market, the investors predict or thinks that the budget deficit will surpass around more than 3%, you know. So that is the things that make market nervous. The investors then try to wait and see, and so forth, you know. That's on the fiscal side. And on the monetary side, as you know, in 1.5 years of this administration, there was this phenomenon they call so-called fiscal dominance, you know, in which the monetary authorities try to accommodate as much as it can to the fiscal policies. So, for example, when there is this awakening of rupiah from 16,000 to 17,000 to 18,000, instead, for example, the monetary authorities try to stabilize this rupiah with an increase in the interest rate, the bank central interest rate. They postpone that all the time. Only then, recently, they increased by 50 basis point from 4.75% to 5.25%, which is quite late, you know. I think this show actually then the people or the investor or the market thinks that the central bank is no longer independent, something that President Habibie established 20 years ago. Yeah, I think now it's no longer there. You know, that independency, which is very important in the managing the economy as a whole. You know, so that's what happened. Only recently, then the BI increased the rate. Yeah. Now, so that's the problem we have. You know, so the problems that both the fiscal authorities and monetary authorities questioning by the market about that credibility of these policies. You know, now the good news is that, as I said before, I think 2 weeks ago the two weeks ago the central bank increased the BI rate, and then they increased 2 times after that by 25 basis points. So now the interest rate is around 5.75%, which is, I think, that what people or market expected. They did that, you know, even a long time ago. You know, now another good news is that because of the large scale of demonstration that happened 2 weeks ago, then the government, what do you call it, revise make it more rational in terms of the design and implementation of the various populist program that they have. For example, they cut the budget for a free nutritious meal by around 70 trillion rupiah. Now it stands around 268 trillion, which is not enough. I think we have to cut further on that, you know. And then also of the program like KDMP, Koperasi Merah Putih, and then also with the housing, we hope that they're gonna make it more rational. Now, the challenge that we have, I think, now and in the future, to make the economy more better in the second what do you call it, semester, is that what happened with the subsidies and compensation program. I think here, I think we what do you call it? We don't want to lose the momentum, on this. So I think we have to encourage the government also to make a reform in the subsidies and the compensation program. Now we can no longer tolerate the fact that, for example, actually this subsidy and compensation program is not fair at all. Around 50% to 60% of these subsidies enjoyed not by the poor, the poor, but in fact by the rich, the rich, the 10% of the population, the top 10% of population, enjoy about 2.5 million per capita per year on that subsidy, while the poor, the bottom 10% enjoy around 50,000 rupiah per capita. So this is not fair at all, and it cannot be continued. So I think so if the government really realize this, I think reforming the subsidy and then compensation program to be more targeted to the need, to the need, to the group of the people that really has a right to have that subsidy. We can save, around 200 trillion rupiah, by reducing significantly the inclusion error in that subsidy. That's something that the government do not touch this important what do you call it, policies. So I think, okay. So I think this is the what do you call it, the things that I would like to convey to you, and I hope that we can have another discussion.
Thank you. Now I would like to open to the floor. Okay. We have, I think, Bapak, but please, I think, and then the two gentlemen at the back, and then I'll open up for another round. Microphone. Yes, silakan Bapak. Randy.
My name is Cornelius Purba. I'm from the Jakarta Post. My question, not question, maybe statement, very simple. The problem is President Prabowo thinks everything is okay. So whatever cabinet replace, as long as the president thinks everything is okay, don't worry, you continue to be in this situation and will be worsening. And also, I just want to remind you, you also once we are aggressor and we fail in Timor-Leste, you have the experience on it. That's my only question. As long as President Prabowo thinks still everything is okay, no hope. I myself suffer from President Prabowo and Foreign Minister Sugiono. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Yes, two gentlemen at the back. Yes, with the glasses, and then one with the jacket from Mahasiswa. Yes. Yeah, you with the, name and then one questions, okay? No more, one questions.
Thank you. It's been such a privilege. My name is Ayubi. Maybe I'm representing myself as a citizen of Indonesia. I'm here to learn genuinely. So maybe I'm going to ask the question straightforward to Mr. Fadil here. You said several of very important things in regards with our subsidies, of which have been mistargeted, and it's been going on for years, right? And also in one of the podcasts, also listened to that as well, and how this misallocatment of subsidy have been diminishing the trust and also the interest of foreign investors towards our nations, because they think that, oh, these countries have just been spending money not purposefully well for the development of the nation, but just for like misallocatment of the subsidy itself. Like you, as a member of DA and yourself, like the National Council of Energy, right, if I'm mistaken, is there like something that has been done or like planned by the government to like successfully reallocate the subsidy, right? Because like previously we just have like petroleum, like energy.
Yeah, we
and
got
now
the
we
questions.
have like, we have, sorry, and just a follow-up question actually. It's still in line when in context with the questions. Previously we have petroleum and energy subsidy that's been misallocated. Now we have like the nutritious meals and then and so on and so forth. Is there like any way that we're gonna cut it out like in the future so that we can regain the trust from our investors and eventually make the market bullish again. Thank you.
Thank you. And I think we just shop the question first, and then back to and yes, yeah, with the jacket, yeah. One questions. Your name, one questions.
All right. My name is Joey. I'm a student, and my question is, considering the recent economic situation in Indonesia, to which Mr. Prabowo has seemingly put a bit of a pause to his recent foreign policy, to his focus on foreign policy, he's a bit focusing more on domestic policies. In your opinion, do you think that Mr. Prabowo's sudden stop in his foreign policy trips, would it affect Indonesia's standing in the world?
Do you mean stop just not going to Kazan?
Sorry?
You mean stop is not going to Kazan, right?
Yeah, like he stopped doing his visits. He's put a bit of a pause on it because of the recent kickback and everything. In your opinion, since a lot of the protests would actually focus on his foreign policy focus and actually criticize that, considering that this is FPCI after all, what do you guys think about that?
Okay.
Will foreign policy continue to be a risky topic for presidents, because every time they engage, it seems to just become ammunition for the opposition.
Yeah, okay, I got the questions. Thank you. So we have, I think, 2 questions. I think if anyone wants to respond to Pak Purba, please do. I think I'll go straight first to Pak Fadil. I think you questions about subsidy and also plan to cut it off. Please.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the perception so far from the people is that reducing subsidy meaning increasing the price of the oil, right? Of the BBM, yeah, the gasoline, gas oil. But what we propose actually, we don't propose increasing the price of the subsidized oil. Instead, we want to make sure that the subsidy goes to the people who we are intended, to get that subsidy, especially if we have 10 decile of this group of the income of group, maybe from decile 5 to decile 10, or decile 5, 1 to 5, right? Which is, I think, that's including the people who categorized as a middle lower income group, something like that, So I think that's what actually we propose. So if that's the case, then I think the people will understand, And then the second thing is that we understand also the political fallout from this policy change. For example, like right now already even the Pertamina increased the unsubsidized oil. They already make a huge protest on that, while in fact that unsubsidized oil does not involve the government subsidy, right? It is the Pertamina who suffer if they don't increase that oil. So I think another thing that we have to do is to communicate to the publics what the government plan on these things, instead of saying we increase the price of subsidized oil. We say that so far the subsidy does not well targeted the rich who enjoy more compared to the poor, for example. Then I think people will understand the policy change that the government will introduce. So I think that's the thing that we have to do, But at the same time, I agree, because the government doesn't want to touch these sensitive policies. Then the market will react, When the market react with the with what happened right now, manifested in terms of the capital outflow, in terms of the weakening of rupiah, because the things that the subsidy will give the burden to the fiscal, and then the worry is that the fiscal will reach more than 3% of the deficit of the GDP, which is become the benchmark, the standard that we try to retain so far, which make the economy more or less stable so far. Yeah.
Okay. On this questions number 2, I think try to reframe it. Now, every time presidents will go overseas, will receive a bad public sentiment, whatever it is. I think that's that's a trend now. How that will implicate politically, domestically, politically, Pak Jayadi, and also Ibu, in our foreign policy business with this kind of perceptions, because I had a feelings that now a summit is something that very strategic for us in foreign policy community. Now, in the public perceptions, it become very sensitive. A president go abroad, bad perceptions, whatever it is. How it will affect our foreign policy business, I think, yeah. Please.
One quick question. This is a very quick one. Pak Jayadi, when I was at the presidential office, we had coalition too, right? Back then. And there were parties who disagreed with the government. PKS used to do their own thing and criticize the government. Why is that not happening now? It's like all the parties act like soldiers rather than stakeholders, yeah? What is going on,
Please.
The first answer, let me answer very quickly. Let me answer very quickly Pak Dino's question first. The first possible answer is that now they have been too long in coalition. So their track record has been everywhere there. The president can look into their good record, bad record, and so on and so forth. So it is not easy for them to break away from the coalition one by one, except if some of them, like 3, 2, or 4, are having the same interest, then they say, okay, enough is enough, we have to go away. So the second point is that I think, yes, I said this in Kompas before, so I think it is okay to say it. The coalition is supposed to be equal, right, among them. But one of my students, PhD student, is doing research on it. What he found was that this coalition is not equal. It is presidentialized coalition. When the coalition has been presidentialized, you have the boss, right? Then of course, again, you still have rooms for going away from the coalition, but it seems to me that this top-down approach can still, the members of coalition can still stand inside because of cost and benefit analysis, political cost-benefit analysis, and economic cost and benefit analysis. That is my very general answer to your question. I understand very clearly that you know what I mean. Now, Joyce's question. Joyce, my short, before that, Pak Cornelius, I hear you, Pak. That is only my... Joyce's question, I think the bottom line is still the economy. People tend to find the blame when the economy, when their situation is bad, particularly when that bad situation hit the middle class people, right? Like now, for instance, yeah. The price of the 9 basic goods that we are experiencing since February 2026, at least temporarily, hit mostly the middle class, particularly in the cities. Why does it mean that the middle class and below are not hit by it. It is hit by that. But you know, there are a lot of social assistance programs that targeted to the poor families and so on and so forth. The price of the basic goods are increasing, but they can still afford to buy, at least, you know, to buy, to put to put the food on the table. Yeah. So I think as the economy is getting better, if the government, as Padil has mentioned, has a good plan to fix the economy, so the criticism against the president's like visit to overseas and so on and so forth can be lowered down a little bit. But that's not the only problem. The second problem is the policy communication. Two, political communication and policy communications, which has been the problem for this administration since day one. You know it, right? And I think many of you are experiencing it. Am I right? I know, you don't want to talk about it. Okay. On the policy communication, for instance, yeah, and political communications, our good friend Teddy went on to the media defending the president's visit to France and others, right? But if you are a policy analyst, you will see the substance of the argument, right? Okay, one of the substance, I don't want to touch about the private funding. That's another discussion. The substance. The defense to this visit is that it is increasing. It makes the government gain more in foreign investment, right? Then people like me, I think Padil as well, will look at what is really the investment that comes in, right? Then we found out, for instance, in 2026, between in the first quarter, is it right? The first quarter, right? The total investment was around 419 Indonesian trillion rupiah. One thing that was not mentioned there, this 419 trillion is divided by two, right? What is domestic investment and foreign investment? Okay, domestic investment was around 49%. Foreign investment was around 51%. Okay, 219 trillion. Now, I looked into that. Who are the biggest foreign investors in Indonesia during that Q1? I found five. You can guess, right? Singapore, China, Hong Kong, Japan, South Korea. Total foreign investment came into Indonesia from these five countries is around 12 billion US dollars. The data is, I'm using the official data from the Indonesian Investment Board. Around 12 US billion. If you times 12 billion with 16,500 rate of rupiah, you see, I discounted the rate, right? 16,500. It becomes more than 200 Indonesian trillion. What does that mean? That means most of the investment comes from non-France. Then people who are political enough will say, why coming to France so many so often compared to other countries, for instance, right? That is what I meant by the policy communication. Not to mention the political communication, right? Political communication, for instance, there is a tendency to mock, okay? Tendency to mock the critics, right? That's number one. Number two, there's a tendency to play against each other, particularly with populist playbook, populist kind of playbook, playing against between the elites or the so-called elites and the people. In the campaign time, that is good enough, okay, right? But we are in the governing time. It is not time, particularly in the bad economic situation, you are playing that kind of game. and you have very bad political communication and policy communication, right? Now we know that the president has been trying to fix the issue of communication, right? But it seems that it needs to be re-evaluated. You know, during the governing time, we need people who can communicate not in combative way, right? Because you are not in the campaign mode anymore. Thank you.
Last speaker. Yeah, as the last speaker, firstly, I don't want to address the foreign policy issue first. I like to respond also. You know, I'm wearing my political science hat. Firstly, when Mas Jayadi mentioned about two groups that can oppose military overreach now under the guise of military operations other than war, we know that the military has now, with the revision of the military, the law, can send people, active military personnel, to about 14 institutions. But it's more than 14 institutions because, you know, the free lunch and then the food estate and so on. And but here we also have police overreach because the public is also very upset with the revision of the police law, which disregarded public concerns about the appointment of active police personnel in civilian positions. Now, in fact, it is a free pass because it's now very much at the discretion of the executive. So we need also, what would be the impact of this? So on the one hand, you know, the civilians will be very concerned about the military police conflicts. In the past, during the early days of Reformasi, it was always, you know, it was quite common. We haven't heard it, of conflicts between the police and the military at the regional level. This got nothing to do with security. It's got to do with protection rackets. So who protected particular nightclubs, who protected gambling, who protected mining, who protected, you know, the forest, things and so on. So we'll probably see more of this. And then during Jokowi's time, we saw the politicization of the police. And this is something that we need to be very aware. The politicization of the police, including the weaponization of the police against political opponents. So if Dino asks, why are the political parties in the coalition less willing to go against, you know, the executive? I remember I was in the SBY, you know, I was a deputy to President Budiono while during President SBY, and we got a lot of headache because a lot of the opposition is coming from within the big coalition. Now at the time, there's the weaponization of track records. Everybody, if you've been long enough in politics, you would have made a mistake. Yeah, there'll be some whether administrative or real corruption, but Jokowi politicized that. Yeah, that's what happened. People who did not want to support the Prabowo Gibran coalition, they got called either by KPK or by the police. So the weaponization of that. So we need to see the dynamics also of the police. Yeah, but I agree that I'm with the Habibie Center. With the democratic regression, it gives us energy again to talk about the needs for democracy. Because for a long time, people say that Indonesia is democratic. And also with the winding down of regional autonomy, we need to have discussions again. And I agree with you that Indonesian democracy is too big to fail. We always reinvent ourselves, you know, and we usually and it will become stronger. And also gives, you know, our dialogue partners, they didn't want to talk about democracy, human rights, and regional autonomy anymore. You know, but now with democratic regression, we actually get funding. To talk about it. Finally, on the foreign policy, we were very unhappy with President Joko Widodo because he didn't like try to travel. He didn't want to attend summits and he didn't want to go to multilateral forums except maybe G20 and APEC and ASEAN meetings. And now we are very upset with President Prabowo because he goes overboard, yeah? So we need to find a right balance. With President Prabowo, as you know, there are three issues at least. Firstly, he's away apparently 1 day out of 6. And that is a serious thing. You know, you cannot have a chief executive to be away from the office, 1 day out of 6, let alone
1 out of 5.12 days.
Okay, right, yeah. So that is a question of attention and time. And secondly, it's cost. The cost is huge. It doesn't make sense that the presidential delegation is paid out of private pockets. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, it's against the law. Yeah. So that is the cost. But thirdly, it's again the follow up. It reminds me of the time of President Gus Dur, who also liked to travel. And going to travel, I mean, Dino and I, we work in the executive office. Just for one visit, it takes months of preparations, of meetings at the technical levels. The foreign ministry and the other line ministries, come up what would be the points of discussions, what deliverables, and we have to do that, and then come back, and there will be this a constant negotiation, how much has it been followed up? So even just at the technical level, it is impossible if you just go, stop over here, how are you going to follow up? And then the foreign ministry is sidelined. So this is the policy implementation cost to it. So my suggestion would be that the president reduces his international visit, but he must go where he must need. So if it is an ASEAN related summit, it is wajib. Yeah, it's haram for the president not to go. Yeah, so we need to show our support for ASEAN. Do not come early from any ASEAN-related meetings. Yeah, so then we need to pay more attention. So Indonesia need to go also to all the summits, and through the UN General Assembly, you don't have to go every year, but it is important. Yeah. So the president should be strategic, because it's like a guest, if once in a while, is very welcome, but if you turn up too often, unless you're visiting your parents, it's a different matter. Yeah, parents do not visit their children all the time. Yeah, and if a country goes to visit another country, you put yourself in a subservient position, so you're no longer special. And here, the foreign minister can travel as much as he likes, and this is the really the empowerment again of the foreign ministry. So the policy and who should be the messaging, and particularly, I said, this power of ideas from Indonesia. We need to have 1 or 2 good ideas, and the most important thing is at the regional level. It doesn't make sense for Indonesia, which was the primus inter pares within ASEAN, to be neglectful of it, because ASEAN without Indonesia is not going to be taken seriously. And for Indonesia to go all over the place while being disassociated from the region is also going to cost us credibility. I do hope that we still have some 3 more years to go, that it will be better. And Pak Cornelius, continue to write and avoid hubris. Yeah, I'm not just criticizing Trump. We all also have our own hubris. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, Pak Jadi, 1 minute.
In responding to Bu Dewi's on the issue of military, I teach social movement class. Social protest or movement needs at least tactical, if not ideological, coalitions with the elites. And division between the elites. We need elite division. If elites are all united, then our fate is doomed. Thank you.
Yeah, let's give a big hand for all the speakers. Yeah, I'm sorry I'm not giving many chances for everyone to ask the questions. I think the time is too tight, but we have a very rich discussions, and I hope that everyone benefits with this. just being honest, Bu Dewi, as a young analyst in this time, it's exciting, but at the same time also depressing because we don't know what is right, and we need to analyze and we need to form what is ideal. But more or less of that, it is what it is. That we need to continue to be proactive, and I make an argument that Jakarta is one of the places in Southeast Asia that the most condensed with foreign policy debate outside the government. I think that's my takes, and the government should be happy because they have a knowledge sparring outside the government on talking about foreign policy and others and others. So by having said that, just to lightly sponsor a message, 1st of August, Indonesia Net Zero Summit that FPCI will organize on the 1st of August, the biggest climate conference in the country, and in Southeast Asia, according to my boss. Kidding. Yes, it is, but it's 8,000 people coming. It's very packed, talking about the climate change. And on the 21st of November, a conference on Indonesian foreign policy at Kota Casablanca. So you will be see Pak Purba also will speak again there. So thank you so much. Have a good afternoon, and I'll see you in the next event.
Thank you, Calvin, for your thoughtful moderation, and thank you to all speakers.
Udah nggak apa-apa. It's okay.
Aggressive. Be an aggressive.